Everybody, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Tammy Talks here. Let's talk Married at First Sight San Diego's, which is season 15, episode 12, Baby Steps. Let's talk Kristen and Mitch. If you're brand new to my channel, I do breakdowns on various TV shows, both scripted and reality, interjecting my own thoughts, opinions, and theories into each and every recap. So, if you enjoy that type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel, thumbsing up the video, and then hopping in the comment section so we can discuss respectfully everything that happened in tonight's episode. So, I'll say it again for the fourth time tonight. Like I told y'all before, I want to get to 6,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is Tuesday, the 27th. So we have like 250 subscribers to go. So if you are watching, and you have not already subscribed, and I know some of y'all haven't, because I look at the stats. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are thumbsing up the video, because that helps me out as a smaller YouTuber getting into the algorithm, okay? And then finally, a huge thank you to everybody that has sent super thanks, Cash Apps, Venmos, PayPals, everything that you guys do to contribute and support the channel. I really, really do appreciate. All right, so let's go ahead and talk Kristen and Mitch, y'all. So it starts off with Mitch with them toes out, being on FaceTime with a female friend. He said that this is a friend that a neighbor of his, they got really close during COVID because they formed their own, they were in each other's COVID bubble. So remember, your bubble became the people that you were around the most, and that's kind of who you thugged it out with during the height of the pandemic. During the height of the pandemic. So he's telling her that, he had a little snafu with Kristen, and he wants to get her perspective and some advice from her on it. So apparently they were being intimate, and because Mitch is such a jokester, he said something in jest that he thought was funny. Kristen did not. Now, this happened while they were having sex, apparently, and she called him out on it right away. He thought he was being kind of funny, but he said that he was kind of taken aback by it, and he took offense to it. Or, I'm sorry, she took offense to it. And him being called out like that affected him more than she realized, and I guess more than he realized. He feels that he got put into a box because of that. And I said, Mitch, go on with that bullshit. Here's the thing. I feel like everything has to be kid gloves around Mitch. Everything has to be, we're so... we're walking on eggshells around Mitch. I have to make sure we don't offend Mitch. Everything has to be perfect for Mitch. Stop it. Knowing Mitch, because Mitch is very condescending. And while I did say that I saw some real growth with Mitch during the after show, which I did, I can tell that Mitch has... in some ways he's more in tune with other people's emotions. I feel like Mitch still really does like to play victim if he doesn't get his way. So his friend was like, look at it from her perspective. Who wants to be joking and stuff? Was the joke at her expense? Was it at your expense? It wasn't the appropriate time. His friend was like, you're funny, we know that, but this just wasn't the right time. So Mitch was like, yeah, it just really affected me. And Mitch made a point to say it again because he wanted his friend to kind of be on his side. And when she wasn't, then he kind of lit up on it. His friend was basically like, look, show Kristen that you are attracted to her. It doesn't have to be physically with sex again, but show her that you are attracted to her in some capacity. So Dr. Pia comes over, okay? And they feel like they have really good trust with one another. I said, do y'all? Okay, sure. They begin to do an exercise where they have these questions, and they're pulling out some questions to kind of get the conversation going. Dr. Pia knew what she wanted out of life. I tell you that. Dr. Pia came in, and I feel like she is having the best conversation that we have seen with these couples outside of Dr. Viviana in a couple seasons. Because Pastor Cal is all he care about is, are y'all humping? And Dr. Pepper lost her credibility when it was revealed that she don't even live with her husband. So, Doctor, first question is, who is your childhood hero? I think Mitch said his father. I kind of tuned out. But Kristen says her mother. She said because her mom was a single mom with her and her sisters. And, her mom was a Cuban immigrant and they didn't have a lot of money. But her mom has, always made it work for them. And her mom has now put herself up by the bootstraps. And she's wealthy, not just financially because she's worked her way up through her company. But she's just in awe of her mother. Mitch's ass says, but did you answer the question that's about your childhood? And I said, wow. Well, that might have been a valid question, okay? Because Kristen didn't answer the question in totality correctly, right? Kristen did mention that her mom took care of her and stuff like that as a child. And then she did go into talking more about her mom and what she is now. But it's like, Mitch is such an ass. And I know people are going to say, well, Mitch is very honest. Yeah, he's honest to a fault, though. So even if he was thinking it, you don't just blurt this shit out like that. So Kristen starts crying, and I'm like, girl, I know you tired of crying because I'm tired of watching you cry. I don't think it was cry-worthy, but if she felt the way about it, she felt the way about it. So Mitch said, what Kristen was saying that this is what happens with him. She's very sensitive about her family. So all he had to say was great story. Wow, that's really good, which he could have done that. Mitch was in my mind, it just didn't seem like she answered the question. He's like, I didn't pick up on that. I'm a person, I'll admit it, I'm very much in my head. So because I'm in my head so much, I was just thinking that you didn't answer the question. And when I tell you I could not be married to Mitch, because nobody wants to be with somebody that feels like they need to correct them or teach them or do stuff like that to them all the time. And this is a pattern that we have seen with Mitch, where Mitch will do something like that to her. You know what I mean? He can never just be like, oh, okay, cool. We saw it when she wanted to flip houses and he went right to, well, that's what did he call it? Damn, he called it predatory. And it's all you had to say was that, that's really good for your mom. But I also feel like if I say this is my childhood hero, you don't need to worry about what my explanation for it is. If that's who I say my hero is, that's who my hero is, and call it a day. So Mitch apologizes for that because he said he didn't mean it that way. He didn't. So then they talk about their sex life. And Mitch said that they have put the brakes on sex for a couple of weeks. Kristen said that something happened in the bedroom. He said something in a humorous fashion. She said while it was funny, she felt that it was kind of inappropriate in that moment. Mitch claims he doesn't remember what he said. Kristen said that out of respect for Mitch, she's not going to say it because he really didn't want her to say it. I mean, what did you say? I hate when they're very ambiguous like this on these shows. So Mitch said that he finds humor in things that most people don't. He said that on TV, sex is looked at as this thing where it's not funny and it's perfect and whatever. He's and when he's his experiences with sex are, bodily fluids and weird noises and things are funny. And I'm like, well, that's not true, because there are a lot of movies where sex is depicted in a very natural way, where there are the bumps and bruises that we have all gone through, right? Where there are things that are just completely funny, where you are having fun and you're laughing and you're giggling and stuff through it. Everything doesn't have to be so serious. But Kristen's problem with Mitch is that everything is a joke to him. Everything is a joke. And Dr. Pia asks, do you use humor when you're nervous or awkward. And he was like, I do, but I also use it when I'm not nervous and I'm not awkward. So Mitch just likes to play around a lot. But I think a lot of that came from, like we saw in last week's episode with the this is my childhood, that because he as a child didn't have any structure and was able to go out and do whatever the hell he wanted to, he wants to still be able to navigate life like that same 14-year-old boy that was out terrorizing the city. And that's not how life is working. So Kristen feels that the last week was their best week ever. She feels that that's when they were more emotionally vulnerable than anything else. She said she didn't feel chastised by anything that she said or did. She didn't feel like she had to walk on eggshells around Mitch. They were just like, they both were themselves, and that was just one of the very best weeks that she feels that they've had in this marriage. And I mean, Kristen is trying her damnedest in this marriage. She is trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And she's doing way more than I could ever. Because Mitch is, she's bending over backwards for him. She's bending over backwards constantly for him. And he really doesn't seem to appreciate it. He doesn't. So they're on the beach and they're answering the questions. And one of the questions was, what is your toughest experience? Mitch said that I guess he was trying to create a sunscreen line. He went through, did all the packaging, got everything together, and it never came to fruition. It failed. He felt like a failure after that. So he kind of was like sulking about it and was saying how that was like really big for him. Kristen, because she's very empathetic, is like, I'm sorry that happened to you. But, you know, it doesn't mean you're a failure because you failed at things. I have had a lot of little random ass businesses. Just because things fail or things don't come into fruition the way that you especially want them to, doesn't mean you're a failure. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people will think that because the very first thing that they tried came across didn't work out the right way, they automatically equate that to failure. And that's really not how, that's not how life is. You're going to fall a bunch of times before you get up the top of that hill. So Mitch says that kind of gave him his love for like what he does now. So that turned into him caring about the environment and caring about that, and then now he gets paid to do what he loves. So it worked out for the best. So then Kristen picks a question that's about sex. And Mitch is so awkward. And I'm like, was Mitch a virgin before this? Because he is very uncomfortable with talking about sex. He giggles. It's almost like, what was her name? Iris, who was the virgin. And when they would talk about sex, she would always like giggle and stuff. So they asked the question of, what is your favorite position? Kristen said doggy style because it feels the best to her. Mitch said that that's a good place for him to end. And she was like, what? He was like, that's where I like to end it. And he said, it's like climax. I said, y'all are so cringy. So then Mitch said he also likes when she's on top because he don't have to do too much there. She was like, thanks. He just don't know what to say. He just don't know what to say. And a lot of it is because he is not attracted to this woman. But he is trying. But he is not attracted to her. So they do an activity that's about physical touch and intimacy, where he's like giving her a massage and like, touching all over her body. And that is supposed to kind of bring them closer together. They seem like it did to some degree. Also, when they were out hanging out with the guys and the ladies, Mitch said he doesn't know where he's at with the relationship. He's having a hard time planning the long term. So he's okay with, planning up until decision day. He said, but Kristen has a lot of demands. She wants to know that he's in love with her, and she has all these different demands on things that have to be met, that have to be taken care of, that have to be done before she can confidently say yes on decision day. And he knows that he's not going to be there yet. Kristen, on the other hand, said that she is willing to outweigh the bad with the good because she knows that he is good at his core. Kristen just don't want to have another failed relationship. That's all that is. Because there is no. Kristen has talked about being so unhappy this entire time. Anytime she talks to her friends or whatever, she mentions how she's unhappy. She's constantly crying about how he treats her and different things that he says about her, or different things that he says about like her ideas and her dreams and the way she lives her life. So why, what good is there to outweigh? What good is there? Let me know what you guys thought about this episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one.